Today we're going to be talking about how to plein air paint roses, so come along. So I'm kind of thinking about how large I want these blooms to be. So I'm just kind of loosely thinking of placement here. So this is, a much looser approach. And I honestly, this is something that's super intimidating for me. And so I kind of feel like I just need to go for it. Otherwise I will never do it, to be honest with you. So that's kind of the situation we're looking at. So let's talk about my colors. I've got ultramarine blue, burnt umber, cadmium red, cadmium orange, cadmium yellow deep, cadmium light, and then 2 strips of titanium white. But because these roses are yellow, I'm mostly going to be using in this yellowish range. So it's a cool yellow and a warm yellow. And then this orange is almost like a deeper yellow. The red is just here to kind of be able to tint some of those like darker passages. And then I need a blue to create the greens. And the burnt sienna is basically to mix with the blue to create like my darks. And then the white is to lighten. So in a way, it's really kind of a monochromatic painting. But, I need a blue in there to create a green. It's yellow and green with some darks. But a little bit of this darker, earth red can play off of the greens a little bit, which I think could be good. So I'm kind of trying to place the big shapes, and then I'll come in and maybe place some of the littler shapes. I want to, one of the things that's really hard for me is like getting leaves, but I want to try and get like some individual leaves here. And I'm kind of looking at like this bloom, and I see like it's looking at the native shape. Here's like a little bit of a leaf, then this leaf comes off over here. Underneath that is another leaf angling this way, and then there's one that overlaps that. And this is a situation where I've messed up in the past quite a bit, where I approximate the leaves too much, and then it's harder for me to find those shapes later on. So I kind of want to get some detail in the leaves. I mean, this thing is not about the leaves, but I want to get some leaves. It's dark in here. So left of this is another stem, and there's kind of a baby bloom here. Might kind of add that in, get this leaf here. Okay, that might work. Let me put a little bit more detail. This bloom is kind of like half in shadow. People are looking at me like I'm a crazed lunatic, and they're not wrong, but I don't appreciate it. I know that I need to kind of solidify the shapes and the boundaries of these because it's so easy to get lost. Okay, well that looks terrible. But well, we're done, everybody. Enjoy. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. No, I'm just kidding. So let me mix up, use a bigger brush, and let me mix up some, I'm also going to be using some liquid, I think, as a medium, potentially. So I'm using all the toxic stuff today, but I could see myself coming back for a second round on this if I don't finish it. And so if it dries quickly, that would be not the end of the world. And I typically don't use liquid ever indoors, but I think, however, outdoors, usually I don't smell it and it doesn't bother me. So I'll be kind of dipping into this a little bit. So let me create kind of a dark value. give it some of this blue, some of the burnt umber, a little bit of maybe this orange, a little bit more blue, a little bit of this, and we'll thin it down. So this is a very dark green. Keep it thin, so a little bit more odorless mineral spirits. I'm using Gamsol. It's kind of transparent, so I'll obviously be going over that. This is going to kind of help me delineate my shapes. I'm painting on a gesso board here. From Ampersand. Probably could be using a bigger brush here, but whatever. I just want to get some stuff down. Kind of going around some of the edges and things to just define my shapes a little bit more. And I'm kind of like finding my way, to be honest. I have no idea what I'm doing, so whatever. I'm trying to keep it loose and honestly have fun. And one of the beauties of oil paint is like we can work our way up to what we're trying to do. So I do think I want to mix a more opaque version of this dark. So we'll come in over the top of that with a little bit of our liquid. And I'm going to find like just the darkest recesses, which is going to be down here. And also down in here. You gotta, to a certain extent, you have to like not be afraid to mess things up and to just make a mess and get in touch with like your playful side from when you were a kid, because that's all a part of this. That's a part of making art. And it's a part of discovery. It's a part of the process, I think. And, I know that this isn't going to be perfect. So by kind of being loose and messy and whatever, it can help me kind of just get things rolling, get paint on my canvas. I'm going to stick with this brush. It's one of the larger ones I have. It's a synthetic brush, but it's a little bit on the firm side. It's made by Dakota. It's a Bright and number 8 by, it's a Princeton Dakota brush, Bright number 8. But it looks pretty much like a flat. Every brand's a little bit different. I'm gonna mix up, I'm not too worried about the greens. Let me mix up some of the shadows for the shadow side of the flowers, which it's really kind of a bluish color. I'm going to desaturate that and warm it up a little bit. So a little bit of ultramarine, a little bit of blue, a little bit of burnt sienna, some of our medium, and then let me warm it up with a little bit of orange. So kind of getting a neutral color here, and I might push it just a little bit more blue, but I don't think it needs to be that dark. Somewhere in between. And even though these flowers are yellow, they're really skewed towards the white side. It's probably too much. And because blue and orange are complements, they'll gray each other out. So I do want a little bit more blue, but I just don't want it to be too saturated or too dark. That might work for now. Okay, let's see. So I'll start with this one. I'm closing my eyes and I'm squinting. I'm just going to block this in thinly. I do the same thing here. About half of this rose is in shadow. Thin that down a little bit. I'm trying to remind myself to keep track of the larger shapes and just think of this as in dark and light. So over here, almost all of this is in shadow. And we can like refine that shape later. And this one, mostly in shadow, so is in here. This one, there's really some spots that are in shadow. I'm going to say like kind of this portion here. Okay, this guy is all in shadow. And this guy is in shadow. So as I step back, I'm looking at that. We've been going for about 20 minutes now, and I mean, I'm at least seeing like three-dimensional form, so I think like that's promising. I rinse the brush out. And now I'm going to switch to a slightly smaller brush. I'm going to switch to, this is a bristle round brush, Rhenish Round Finest Natural Bristles number 4. It's going to give me a little bit smaller size to work with, and I'm going to look at some of the like darker spots that have a lot of saturation. So I'm going to use some of this orange and a little bit of this yellow. I might deepen that down with a little bit of brown. Maybe desaturate just a touch with some blue. I'll use some medium. Okay, so I'm going to start with this, and I'm just looking for like those kisses of saturation. Here. I'm trying to simplify it, you know. I'm going to refine it later. I get too caught up in the details. Okay. I'm kind of playing some compliments off each other too. Let me put in some greens, I think. That will help. I'm going to switch brushes again to a smaller flat. This is a bristle flat by Princeton. One of their really cheap brushes. Size number 4, short handle. So let me mix up kind of a generic blue. Do that here. Some of the ultramarine and cadmium deep. And make that a little bit darker. And we're going to aim for something in the middle. Tone it down a little bit, desaturate it a little bit. When I say something in the middle, like tonal values wise, so something that's like not too dark, it's not too bright, so that I can go darker and lighter from here. I don't know if I want it to be that saturated. I'm going to desaturate a little bit, the burnt sienna. Okay, let me put some of these leaves in. Thin it down a little bit, some mineral spirits. This is always kind of the trick for me, since the oil paint stays wet, is like keeping it the consistency the way that you need it to be. And so you really have to manage like how thick and thin the paint is, how much you're diluting it. This is something like I didn't really know about or think about when I first started painting, was how, like why are there different brushes and different stiffnesses? Well, part of that relates to this process, that some of your brushes are going to be like harder edged that you can scrub in your paint thinly, and then later on, we don't need so much force. And so then that's when you would kind of move to like synthetic brushes and stuff, because you want a lighter touch, because you're going to be layering your paint on top. I kind of feel like some of this dark that I put in is already a little bit too dark, but that's okay. We can maybe modulate that later on. Okay. I think I want to put in the light side now, but I want to do it also thinly, and then we'll keep working on refining these shapes. Use some of our cooler yellow, some white.
You guys want to stop?
Use some of medium. It needs to be warmed up a little bit. Use some of that orange. I'm going to thin it down a little bit. Okay. So we'll come in here, for instance. We can sort of see the forms starting to emerge.
Okay, just a couple more. See, I can't stop.
This one's like entirely in light almost.
Okay. I'll stop. I'll try to stop.
This is where, I struggle. I get lost in the forms. And I probably need to step back. When I look, these are dark, so I do need like a lighter green in this area. Oh boy. And then I need like something to break up like these shadows, the shadow side, so that it's not so flat. So let's do that. Let's see. Let's fill this in with a lighter green. Take some of this. To give us some more contrast.
That's cool.
Thanks.
These flowers right here?
Yeah, these ones.
Oh, that's very cool.
Thanks. They're so gorgeous. Yeah, things are they're very powerfully potent color-wise. I can see that now, which is maybe something I can fix. But yeah, everything is very strong, very, very strong. Let me switch back to this round brush. And let's look at these shadows for a second. So I want to mix up a lighter color of this. Maybe bring more yellow into it, but I want to lighten the value so that I can kind of delineate that form a little bit more. Some more medium on that. Actually, let me switch back to that flat after all. The flat is nice because you can get like this hard edge. I feel like I just need more paint, just all around. I'm like being stingy with my paint, and I need more on the brush. Okay. Kind of delineate more of the petals. That's starting to look more like a rose. Let's do the same thing over here. Kind of the light side. So see what I mean about like layering the paint? Start to like get individual petals. Of course, I've lost my light now. This is stage 1 of blocking in this painting. Click here to watch stage 2, where we'll finish this video up. Remember, you have a voice that matters. Go be creative. I'll see you next time.